no, 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 no. It's time to stop.
So Kombat League has started once again, and everybody and their mother is going crazy about those reptile skins, because even if you can't play him, at least you can kind of look like him. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you the most broken setups to help you dominate Kombat League, and then I'm going to show you how to beat those setups, that way nobody can use your own weapons against you. So make sure to post your dirtiest setups in the comments down below, and without any further ado, let's begin. So of course we're going to start off with Shiva. I know this character is just terrorizing players in Kombat League, and for me personally, I love playing this character. I think she's a ton of fun, but even I admit she has some dirt, so let's talk about one of her dirtiest setups and how to beat it. So of course this setup involves the stomp, and that's why it works in all three of her variations, though I would argue it's the strongest in variation 1 and 3. So the way this setup works is you do any combo whatsoever, and then you end with her 2-1 and cancel that final hit into her stomp. And then due to the opponent's recovery, they don't have time to do pretty much anything before the stomp hits them. And if you're the Shiva player, then that's very good news, because it means a guaranteed 10% at the end of every combo you do. So for example, let's take this combo right here. I launch the opponent, 2-1, and then I'll just do her back forward 4. So the damage here is okay, 286. However, this time let's do the stomp instead, and just check out how much more damage you get. Boom. Boom. So that was 316 if you do the math, so already that's more damage, and keep in mind I also have the option to amplify if I want 15% damage instead of 10. And keep in mind this setup works anywhere, even in the corner, as long as your opponent's not expecting it, and that means over 40% damage if Shiva has you cornered. And of course we can't forget about the crushing blow. You land it down 2, this damage is about to get pretty insane. This setup by itself does over 50% damage, and yes, it did cost 2 bars, but there was no fatal blow required, so that's some pretty crazy damage. After a whiffed throw or a whiffed high attack, Shiva can do some damage with this setup. However, now as promised, I'm going to show you how to beat this setup. Now the most obvious solution is a wake up 3, because a wake up 2 actually does not work. Let me go ahead and show you that real quick. I'm going to do a wake up 2, and it's just not going to work, and this is true for most characters. So as you can see, the wake up 2 didn't even have time to come out. And in fact, some characters up 2s don't even hit above them that well, which just means more freedom for Shiva. So once again, a wake up 3 is actually going to be your best option here, and for Devora, that is her quick strike. So check this out, if I go for a regular stomp setup, then Devora actually can interrupt me with her up 3. So if you're fighting a Shiva player and they go for that setup even once, an up 3 can be a good way to stop them dead in their tracks. However, here's the thing, Shiva can actually counter your counter. All the player has to do is delay their stomp by holding left trigger, and it will punish your up 3 every time. So now here is where the mind games begin, because the up 3 is not a guaranteed solution. So you might be thinking, well, how about a roll? Does a roll work? Well, let's go ahead and test that. So right now I'm telling Devora to go for a forward roll, and let's see if it works. I'm gonna do a regular stomp setup, and she avoids me just fine. Okay, but this time let's try the delayed stomp and see if that works and catches Devora or not. As you can see, it totally does. So the delayed stomp will still catch a roll either forward or backwards as long as the Shiva player times things correctly. So once again, the roll is not a guaranteed way to avoid anything. And not to mention, the Shiva player can actually do a different string, back 1, 2, 2, and now the timing is entirely different, and it's much easier to punish the roll this time around. So as you can see, delayed stomp beats pretty much any wake up option. However, to be fair, you can always mix things up. You can go for a wake up sometimes, and that forces the player to delay, or you can do wake up nothing and just start dashing, and that will avoid the delayed stomp. So while this stomp setup is very annoying to deal with, you can always force the Shiva player to guess by either doing a wake up attack or just getting up normally and then dashing right away. However, here's the absolute best way to avoid this setup. So if you do delayed wake up, that's one of the best ways to avoid this stomp, and as a Shiva player, I actually hate how good this is, but check it out. So I'm gonna do stomp, and it doesn't work, and that was the short wake up option, and it beat me straight up. Now of course the Shiva player could counter this by just doing a delayed stomp instead, and that should work. Boom, catches them, but as you can see, the opponent had a bit of time to go for something there. Whether it was an up 3 or just trying to dash, they had a bit of a gap to go for something in that brief window. However, next up we have the long delayed wake up, and this works very, very well against Shiva, so the regular stomp just does not work straight up. Okay, so now let's try the delayed stomp and see if that can actually work. Yes, it can. However, here's the thing, delayed wake up does not cost you any meter, so in my opinion, it's always your best option if you want to try and counter this stomp setup. Because at least that way, even if you guess wrong, you didn't waste any of your meter as a resource. And that's a very, very big deal, because once you're out of defensive bar and you don't know about delayed wake up as an option, the Shiva player just has a field day with your health bar, because you can't roll and you can't wake up 3, so you just get up normally and eat the damage every single time. So once again, delayed wake up is the best way to try and get around this stomp setup. So next up, we gotta talk about Joker. I don't know about you, but I hate fighting against Joker online. He is everywhere, and understandably so. He's a very solid character, especially for online play. And today we're focusing on his Ace of Knaves, because that variation has a very dirty setup. So this Jack-in-the-Box right here is the bane of my online existence, because on block, this thing is nuts. Check this out, plus 24. That's tons of time to dash forward, go for a throw, dash forward, go for a forward 1-4 into a mix-up because you have the low, or you have the overhead, all that good 50-50 nonsense, all because you blocked that Jack-in-the-Box. And while the Joker player could just go for the hit and then go straight into it, that's not what most of them do. Typically, they land this combo, dash forward, and then do it, and you're forced to block this thing on wake up. If you down one or press any other buttons like that, you're gonna get hit, and even if you jump, you'll get hit. And then if the Joker player decides to amplify, things get even worse, because he gets a full combo, he can re-go again, dash forward, and he gets the overhead. So with this setup, you might be thinking, well, I'll just forward roll, and let's go ahead and test that. Let's see if forward roll is a good idea. Does that avoid this setup at all? So doot. Well, the problem is the Joker player has time to see it. So in theory, if he commits to a forward dash, maybe you could roll through him, but if he just waits to see what happens, he can throw you. So it could be an option, but only if the Joker player is not expecting it. In other words, the roll is not guaranteed, at least not the forward roll. However, what about a back roll? How does that work? It seems like that would be way more effective. Yeah, that seems pretty good, honestly. A back roll isn't a terrible idea. The Joker player could still dash forward twice and then throw you, but even if he's expecting it, a back roll seems to be a fairly solid option. Though keep in mind, the Joker can direct this Jack-in-the-Box, so if you go for a backwards roll and he does the far version, he can actually catch you. Now thankfully he does have to amplify, but even so he can catch you for backwards rolling every single time. So it's not always a great escape option. However, if he doesn't have meter, then a backwards roll can be great. However, in the corner a backwards roll is not as solid of an option, because you do avoid the Jack-in-the-Box, but you're still vulnerable to everything else afterwards. Not just a throw, but also a full combo punish. And in fact, I think if the Joker player amplifies, it will actually catch you going for the roll. Yes, it does. That's a guaranteed punish if you roll backwards. And of course, if you roll forward and the Joker expects it, he can just throw you back into the corner anyway. And you likely already know this, but a wake up 3 does not work either, because even if Joker gets hit, the Jack-in-the-Box does not go away. So that means if the Joker player expects the wake up 3, he can just go for the amplified Jack-in-the-Box, and then even if you hit him, he still gets a complete combo. So as we've learned, just like Shiva's Stomp, this Jack-in-the-Box can be a very annoying setup to deal with, so how do you beat it? Well, once again, delayed wake up can actually be a pretty solid option. So here's the regular delayed wake up. That does not work, so we're gonna have to go for the long delayed wake up right here. Now let's see how that works out against Joker. As you can see, you get up right afterwards. So once again, delayed wake up is one of the best ways to avoid this move, but it has to be the long delayed wake up. The short delay wake up's not going to work. In fact, the long delayed wake up even works on the amplified option as well, surprisingly enough. So as you can see, the explosion happens just before you get up and you're not forced to block it or take the hit. I even tried delaying that string as much as possible and the explosion still didn't hit. Okay, but what about if we try a different string? We mix it up that way. We'll do this instead. Nope, that still doesn't work. So as you can see, the long delayed wake up is one of the best options for avoiding Ace of Knaves, and honestly, I find myself forgetting how good delayed wake up is, especially online. However, with that said, here's a word of warning. Delayed wake up is going to be changed when the new DLC arrives. When Kombat Pack 2 arrives, not only will delayed wake up have a more obvious animation where the character looks up at you, but you're also only going to have one delayed wake up timing, so there won't be short and long. You're only going to have one, and they haven't told us which one that will will be. And honestly, I'm hoping it's the long delayed wake up that stays, because as you just saw, that's the best way to avoid most of these setups. But no matter what happens, and now you understand these dirty setups, both how to avoid them and how to do them if you want to be the dirty trickster yourself. So leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video, it really does help my channel out a ton, and then keep that combo going by suplexing that subscribe button. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.